Hey there. Paternity fraud, as you all know, is also known as misattributed paternity or paternity discrepancy. It occurs when a man is incorrectly identified as the biological father of a child. The underlying assumption of paternity fraud is that the mother deliberately misidentified the biological father. Research published in 2016 indicates that 1 in 50 British fathers is unknowingly raising a child who is a biological child of another man. Nigeria is ranked second highest paternity fraud in the world. 3 out of 10 Nigerian men are not the biological father of their children. As report has been making the round that Nigeria has the second highest rate of paternity fraud in the world after Jamaica, as many Nigerians has been unknowingly raising children that are not theirs. And to curb the trend, they have been called for introduction of mandatory DNA testing at birth. In case some of you are still a bit confused on what paternity fraud is all about, let's take a look at this.
Mr. Thompson, you are in court today in hopes of saving your 11-year marriage. Your wife has a newborn 4-month-old, Micah Pate Thompson, who you hope is your baby, but say your doubts are overwhelming. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Pate Thompson, you hope and pray the results reveal that your husband is Micah's father for the sake of your family and your marriage. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson.
I can't let another child, especially another black child, grow up without a father.
So, Ms. Pate Thompson, this has to be difficult.
It is. It's very difficult. You know, I want Micah to be his son. I don't want to lose my best friend. We've been together for so long, and you know, I just don't want to lose him.
All right. Well, take me. And now she's in court to prove that you are the biological father.
Yeah, because
You've developed a relationship with Micah.
yeah, I'm in there. You know, it was a struggle for me to even get her to let me come to a doctor's appointment, and she was just like, "Well, I didn't think you want to go because of the situation." I'm like, listen, man, at the end of the day, I'm a man before anything, and if I'm gonna be that boy's father, I don't want to miss out on nothing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it took her a minute to let me go to the doctor's appointment, so I went to the doctor's appointments and stuff like that. I missed the birth of the baby because I was out of town for work. When I came back from out of town, I went straight to the hospital. You know, I went straight to the hospital. I was watching the baby. I was doing all type of things. You know, only thing I didn't do was sign the birth certificate.
You didn't.
No, ma'am.
Because you had that doubt, and it was.
But when as he got older, my features in Micah is starting to come out a little bit.
You start seeing yourself. What is that?
Yeah, this is a picture, a side-by-side picture of me and Micah.
Let me see that. Jerome, will you pass me that?
So as I'm looking, everybody say we got the same nose, the same forehead, and you know they say as the older he get, they say we look alike, and he look like the bigger he gets, he look like my youngest son.
Even just like him and the rest of the kids.
And so now you're really confused.
I would love for him to be my son, but there's too much doubt. It's a lot going on.
I'm ready for the results. Jerome? These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. 4-month-old Micah Pate Thompson. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Thompson, you are not the father. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, sir. How are you feeling in this?
Let's go. So that's what paternity fraud is all about. So on today's show, I will be having this conversation with Mr. Humphrey. So Mr. Humphrey, thank you for joining me today. Mr. Humphrey, paternity fraud, as you may know, has become a norm in the society. 10 out of 50 men are probably raising children that are not theirs. So my question to you is, what are the causes of paternity fraud, and what are the possible solutions to paternity fraud? Over to you, Mr. Humphrey.
Thank you very much, Elijah Wilson, for this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts on this wonderful topic. Yes, the topic is paternity fraud. Yeah, Elijah Wilson has already taken us through the meaning of paternity fraud. It's a situation where a woman deliberately misidentifies the father of a child. Now, the question I'm asked is, what are some of the reasons that prompt women to committing paternity fraud? Now, I'll go straight to it. One of the reasons is the annoying ego of some men. Yes, some men in their marriage, when they're experiencing childlessness, the problem of childlessness, instead of joining their wife to look for solution, they have this habit of pinning all the blames on the woman. Now, the woman will be the one to be running around doing all manner of tests to see if the problem is from her. Now, they exempt themselves and make the woman take all the blame. Now, it gets to a point the woman gets frustrated, especially when, pressure is coming in from the family of the man. The woman gets frustrated and is willing to do anything to get pregnant. Now, she goes out, gets pregnant, come and pin it on the man, and life goes on. So that's one of the reasons women commit paternity fraud. Then secondly, poor perception of child adoption. Yes, in Nigeria, an average Nigerian has this poor perception of child adoption. They feel it is somehow wrong to adopt a child. So they sometimes it might be that the man is willing to adopt, but the woman is not willing. Now, because the woman is not willing, she's ready to do anything to discourage the man from adopting a child. So she goes out, gets pregnant, come and pin it on the man. Life goes on. Now, it might be the other way around. So however way it goes, that's one of the reasons women resort to paternity fraud. Then again, I've heard of a story where a woman committed paternity fraud because, according to her, the man is not cute enough and she wanted beautiful children. So she had to get pregnant for another person and pin it on the man just because she wanted beautiful children. So there are a host of reasons why women commit paternity fraud, but time will fail me to go into a lot of them. So I haven't talked about this paternity fraud, the reasons why women commit paternity fraud. I want to talk a little bit about the possible solution. Now, the major challenge that is causing these fast rising cases of paternity fraud in Nigeria is the problem of poor access to paternity test, popularly known as DNA test. Yes, now because of the high cost, it's not easy for the average Nigerian to access it. So an average Nigerian that even finds it difficult to discharge his wife from the hospital when she gives birth, is it the same average Nigerian you're telling to, take upon himself the burden of having to bear the high cost of running a paternity test for his child? Obviously not. So the high cost is a challenge. So I think what we can do is to beckon on the government to find a way to streamline this cost of running DNA test. That's if they care, because it's so unfortunate that we are in a society, a country where the government cares less about the well-being of its citizens. So the government should, however, find a way to streamline this cost so that people would have access to it, thereby reducing the cases of paternity fraud in Nigeria. Then lastly, another possible solution, though it might be funny, women, I beg, fear God. I beg in the name of God, fear God and stop this paternity fraud thing. It's not really funny. It's not easy to heal from. When a man is caught in that web, he might never heal. And even if he does, it's going to take a lot to heal. So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Elijah Wilson, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Humphrey. It is quite striking to hear that women partake in paternity fraud because they want to have pretty children, like what Mr. Humphrey just said. How a woman get pregnant for another man because she wants to have beautiful children. So quite hilarious. Why would you marry a man if you cannot have children with a man? But that's a story for another day. So my question right now to the viewer is this: in a situation where your children, that's for the men, your children are not biologically yours, and you've raised these children for so many years, and for you to find out that these children are not yours, what are you going to do? I've heard of cases where some resorted to violence. The men ended up killing themselves and also killing their wife. Are these the best way to go about it? Or do you think there are better ways to go about it? That reminds me, a news got to me about a certain young man who has 2 children. His wife has passed on. He recently just found out that the 2 children are not his, and his wife is no longer there for him to confront. So the question I'm asking you, audience, is what does he do? Should he continue to raise children that are not his? He's confused and he needs direction. And for the women out there whose husbands are raising children that are not theirs, the bread of deceit is only chewable for a while. Maybe more than a while, but eventually it turns to stone. Elijah Wilson is my name.